February 20th. K from K Media. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled 6 versus 3 against the Trump's administration, striking down a large portion of the tariffs imposed during Trump's second term under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. The court's reasoning was straightforward. In peacetime, the power to levy taxes belongs to the Congress, not the President. But now the real question is, are we actually in peacetime? I think it's debatable. Do we really have to wait until the United States is completely exhausted, invaded by a foreign power, before Congress decides to hand emergency authority to the President? When fiscal deficit and trade imbalances have already reached uncontrollable levels? When domestic manufacturing has been hollowed out? Isn't that itself a form of economic invasion? So, how exactly do we define peace in the modern era? That said, the court doesn't really have a choice. Its primary responsibility is to defend the constitutional republic itself. Trump is an exceptionally strong mobilizer, I would say, of public opinion, and the justice clearly see their role as preventing the Constitution from being overridden by political rhetoric. From their perspective, resisting that pressure is part of their institutional duty. Still, there's no doubt this ruling strikes at the core of Trump's foreign economic strategy. Trump was visibly furious at today's press conference. He said he felt humiliated. He argued that he's been working tirelessly to rebuild this country after nearly watching it get destroyed by the previous administration. According to him, economic indicators are at historical highs. Tariff revenues are bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars, and yet the judges cannot stand to see America doing well and have placed themselves on the opposite side of Make America Great Again. At the same time, Trump made it clear it's not backing down. He said, fine, if I cannot invoke IEEPA, I will invoke other laws. For example, under Section 122 of the 1974 Trade Act, the President does have authority to impose a temporary tariff for up to 150 days. Ultimately, yes, Congress still has to be involved. It's not as fast or as clean as before, but if that authority exists, Trump says he's ready to immediately impose a 10% tariff on all global imports. And this tells us something important. Trump may be flexible tactically, but his core beliefs have barely changed in decades. The idea of using tariffs to force trade balancing didn't suddenly appear during his first or second presidency. If you go back and watch interviews from the 1990s, he's already saying the same things. That's often the trait of leaders who end up being remembered in a certain way by history. They're not purely rigid, and they're not endlessly negotiable neither. Someone who never compromises has no resilience in governance. Someone with no principles isn't respected. I think Trump sits somewhere in between, adaptable in method but really stubbornly consistent in conviction. On the central issue, using trade barriers to force economic rebalancing as a matter of national strategy, I don't believe it will be swayed by the Supreme Court ruling. And more broadly, what this world is seeing is this. Under a system of separation of powers and President and Congress, the courts are openly fighting over trade policy. To American allies, that sends a clear message. U.S.-led economic policy is becoming increasingly unpredictable. As a result, allies are starting to hedge. You can already see this. Starting in 2026, leaders from Germany, France, Finland, and UK, and South Korea, and others have been traveling to Beijing to stabilize and deepen this cooperation with China. And not because they are abandoning the US, but because the US itself is searching for a new strategy, equilibrium. And when the center shifts, everyone else has to rethink how they survive, not just for the next year or two, but perhaps for the next 5, 10, even 20 years.